If stuff gets weird, someone say something.
But I'm not going to say when it gets weird because it's going to get weird. You're the
Welcome
boss.
to
We just
the Breeders' Roundtable.
Oh yeah, we should have a cool introduction. Someone say something cool.
I thought that's what I just did.
Oh yeah, Tom did it. Okay.
Yeah, you can't top that.
So, welcome to Breeders' Roundtable. We're talking about the Spider Morph ball python tonight. I'm glitchy tonight. Oh no, I'm glitchy. That's not
Yeah.
good. So, the Spider Morph is heavily controversial in the ball python hobby, and so it's definitely one that we wanted to get into, talk about, and actually explore on a deeper level, because a lot of people learn about the Spider Morph on a 30-second clip on TikTok, and that's all well and good, but it doesn't really give you a full history, a full picture of the morph. So tonight we're going to talk about the pros of it, the cons of it, the history of it, and some tips and tricks if you are choosing to use the Spider Morph in your breeding program. I think for tonight we'll do a real quick introduction, and let's say, I'm trying to think of a cool question for everyone to answer. What's your favorite clutch that you've ever produced? If you've produced, and if you have not produced one, so
Creative.
I think the spot nose ultramels are going to be my favorite as of right now. And I'm Stacy, Midgard Morphs, and Tom, Midgard Morphs. I just introduced you, sorry. Cheever, you want to go ahead?
I'd probably have to say our last season we hatched out some pretty cool looking Batmans, and then I think the favorite from last season was some Super GHI Hurricane combos.
Nice. Blaze?
Alright, so I'm Tyler of T&M Noodles. I got my wife over here, Mackenzie. Our most hopeful clutch is our Emeralds once they're ready, but we haven't produced anything yet.
Sweet. Nate?
Okay, Nate with NKSZ Reptiles. My most recent clutch is probably my favorite to date. Besides, actually, no, my Black Pastel Trick is the favorite production. But next to that would be the GHI Bongo 50% Het Clown female that I just produced.
Nice. Very cool. Ozark?
I'm Kevin with Ozark Exotics, and every clutch that successfully hatches out of my incubator is my favorite clutch.
Aww.
I don't have a favorite. I don't have I've got some ones I'm looking forward to, but the success is my favorite. Any one of them that's a success is a favorite. So
I feel
that's
that.
me.
Yeah, that's
It's
an
like
awesome
Christmas.
answer.
It's like Christmas every time that
Yep.
one pops its
Y'all
head
look
up and
like
I get to
assholes over
cut
there.
eggs. It's like, no, everybody has their own preferences.
No, I love that. JS?
All right, so my name is Josh. I am JS Reptiles. So far, I guess my favorite clutch would be the only one I've hatched so far, which is my Bumblebee clutch.
Nice.
Hit the odds pretty well on this one, so pretty stoked about it.
And that clutch will fit right into the subject line for tonight.
Indeed, it will.
Right? Yeah. So, I know a couple of you guys have spiders that you're going to be showing tonight so that we can discuss on pros and cons and some good things and bad things with them. But I kind of wanted to give a little bit of background on the Spider Morph for people in the comments. So Spider Morph really emerged in 1999, I believe. It was initially brought in wild caught. Oh, thank you, PMF. So it was initially brought in wild caught. It was then sold after the person who had it owned it for a couple of years. Sold initially for $7,500, and then Kevin from Nerd bought it and ended up breeding and proving it out as a dominant morph. It gets a lot of hate. But one of the things that's important to keep in mind is that ball python breeding is historically attached to the spider morph. The spider morph was one of the very first dominant genes that we reproduced in captivity. It opened up the doors for all of the breeders today. So we do owe it a lot of respect. So who in here, does anyone want to kind of start out with either pros or cons of spider morph in your experience working with spider? If you have snakes you can show, I can't see anyone's cameras on right now, but that might just be our internet.
So
No, they're all off.
Okay.
can I say something real fast just to clarify the problem that people see with the spider morph?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into that first. That's a great call, Ozark.
Okay,
Thanks.
the spider morph or the spider gene exhibits what they call the wobble syndrome. It's a neurological disorder that's linked to the inner ear malformation, and it causes wobble. It causes like a corkscrewing when they're in space, and it's exhibited differently per snake. Not every spider has it. Not every combination has it. There are a lot that do, and the vastness of the symptoms is all over the place. There can be some that have just a little bit of wobble when they eat, to where they have a lot of wobble all the time. So anyway, I just wanted to say that so people in the chat know why we're talking about the spider and why people shy away from it. So that's all I have.
Thank you for clarifying that, Ozark. I appreciate it.
Honestly, it's overhyped. It's not as bad as people make it out to be, nor the internet does.
I agree.
That's the biggest problem.
I completely agree on that.
Okay.
too.
So
It's not that bad.
Better just-
You have better chance of running into issues breeding super cinnamons than you do with spider.
and I think that's definitely into this discussion, like talking about the other issues with other morphs. I know Nate and Josh both kind of raised hands at the same time. So,
You can go.
whoever starts speaking first, you win. Okay.
I guess I'll go. What I've noticed with Spider Morph is there's so many people that are just so quick to sit there and go, well, it's an unethical thing. You shouldn't breed it because of this neurological disorder, before even really thinking about it, giving it a fighting chance. It's just immediate demonic, thought on it.
Demonizing of it. Yeah.
Thank you. Instead of really like like Ozark said, some of them don't exhibit it at all. And in my case, I happen to have 6 spiders, well, 5 that don't show it whatsoever, ranging from hatchling to full-size adult.
And so
it's definitely something.
this was a question that I had actually with a couple of you that do work spider up here. So I don't work spider myself, but some of the things that I've seen in more and more looking into it, I see a lot of breeders who are showing success with their spiders not having the wobble, but then a lot of pet owners talking about how bad the wobbles are. And I'm wondering if we can talk about a little how husbandry might affect spiders. Like, I know we have the rack debate that goes on and on and on. Are spiders doing better in rack systems than they are in cages? This is just a question, kind of theoretical, that was going through my mind.
I feel like they do. I feel like the open space with a spider is not good. I feel like you can't have high climbing in a cage for your spider ball python. If
Right.
that spider falls off, that could be dangerous.
It's more stress related for them.
Yeah. Stress.
When you see them
If they're in the
spiraling,
confine of their enclosure, like I keep racks. I've had 5 spiders. I have 1 spider left. Okay, and it's the one that was from the clutch that got messed up. I'll talk about that a little more in a second.
Yes.
But that clutch was not really my fault. I didn't know. I was sold the genetics wrong, and because of that, I got a really messed up clutch. I'm not getting out of Spider because it is a horrible, horrible like trait. I love it. I love Spider. Beautiful. I have a champagne. I had 2 champagnes, 4 spiders. So it was a spot nose spider, is what the mom was, and the dad was a black pastel trick. Now, as everyone knows, if you follow me, you've seen the black pastel trick. Okay, beautiful snake, awesome. Okay, but that spider that I have is right here. It is blind.
Okay.
So it is blind in both eyes. It does eat live ASF. Okay, and it is thriving. But I believe the spot nose and spider mixed here.
And which can definitely be a problem. So when we're talking about spider, we do tend to focus very strictly on the spider morph, but it is important to understand that there is a full spider complex. And if someone's looking to get into breeding,
But I don't want to
these are
stress them out
important
too
things to
much.
understand how those complexes can mix together.
So as
Case.
as you can see, like it's not fun to deal with, but he is going to someone as a pet. So I'm happy with that.
Okay, so
And honestly, I gave him away because I know that the person is not going to breed him. They just thought that the mom was beautiful, and they wanted a carbon copy of the mom, and that's as good as you were going to get. I had one. No, I
I
had
just
2
want
that
to pause
didn't make it
for
from
a
that clutch.
second. I want to pause for a second because I know my mods keep messaging me saying, hey, people are wanting to come up, all of that. At this point, we've kind of already just started.
I'm going to get out of
discussion.
here in a minute. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll let people cycle out for sure.
Okay.
Let me go grab my specimens that I have from this clutch real quick to show you before I do hop out of here, to show people that this is what can happen breeding a spider complex to a spider complex.
Okay.
Okay, I'll be right back.
While he's grabbing something, because somebody wanted to make the comment about
And-
asking people with racks their opinion about racks are going to be more rack heavy and positive about them. When I had my spider, it was in a tank, and I didn't have any issues with either with wobble at all. But it could also have been just a very low expression of it. But also there might be something within the spider, like I don't want to say quality of the gene, but like the breeding line might actually affect the level of wobble too as well, not just the gene itself.
Yeah.
Big thing is not all of them are born with the wobble. It's a big hype. The complex for spider is actually pretty big. Chocolate, cypress, hidden gene woma, sable, spot nose, whoopie,
Bongo.
woma, champagne. That's all spider complex. You can hit the same problems in a normal. It's just it's more known to have those issues, but they're not as bad. Basically, when you see them spiraling, if you're holding onto them and they're corkscrewing, they're trying to find ground. It's like they're floating in space.
Mhm.
They're trying to feel secure.
Mhm.
That's why they look like they start freaking out. The more they do it, the more stressed out they get. So that's where it's up to the person that is handling that snake to make it feel as secure as possible.
Mm-hmm. And so let me ask this. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Nate.
Sorry, I'm going to hop out of the box real quick to let someone else up. But
Okay.
this is, I believe, another mix of the spot nose and spider. This one just did not make it. You can see all the dotting, and you can see the spider. So this is an unfortunate event that sometimes, breeding spider, if you don't know your morphs yet, it was my second year, and I didn't catch the spot nose. If I would have caught the spot nose, I would not have bred that girl. And so this is something you have to expect when crossing a spider genetic with another spider genetic, is stuff like this. It's not always going to happen, but there's always that chance. But yeah, I'm going to hop out of the box. I think that's actually a good idea, Stacy. Is so these weeks where we have topics of discussion where people really want to get in boxes, talk about it, show what they want. I think we should switch out boxes, let people have their time in their boxes and switch out. You know what I mean?
I'm open to trying that for this discussion this week. I will tell you, like, if it gets too crazy with everyone, then it will probably change completely back to what we're doing here. But I am willing to try that this week because I know there's a lot of opinions, and I'd like to hear those opinions. Like while we're sitting here, so we're talking a lot about the wobble in the spider complex and how I think it's fair to say that it can't be bred out. It's been the most bred out morph out there, right? People are not actively breeding trying to get worse wobble, but the wobble, whether or not one snake shows it, it still can pass that on to them, to its offspring. So what are some of the reasons that people continue to breed them or want to breed them? And once again, for everyone in the comments, we're not coming at this from a judgmental, hateful, arguing standpoint. We're really wanting to explore the concept as a whole.
Well, I would like to say real fast, in not to downplay anything that Nate just said, because it is a problem when you combine allelics, especially in the spider morph. But I have to admit that this was an accidental breeding. This is a killer bee spot nose. I have this one and her twin brother, and they are perfectly fine. They have very little wobble. They have a little bit. They're perfectly fine. So this is a success story. Not everybody's going to get lucky like I did. I did not. I didn't realize till it was too late that I put the wrong snake in the wrong tub with the wrong female. That was my fault. I did not intend for this to happen, but mistakes were made. I own my mistakes. I wouldn't have done this on purpose, but I got lucky,
Are you
and
breeding
she
that
came
animal
out.
going forward?
This
The
animal,
one,
no, this
yes.
one is going to go to Salty Heifer Designs, where she's already
Okay.
got dibs on it. This is going to be a pet. Her brother is going to be a pet. They're not going to be bred, not by me. If I can't control
Right.
what somebody does in the future with that snake, um, I'm pretty sure that Shell's not going to. Um, the other person, I'm pretty sure, is not going to, but I can't, once they purchase it, I can't tell them what they can and
Right.
can't do with their animal. So, but I'm
I'm gonna
selling
hop
them
out of the
as
box
pet
real
only.
quick, guys.
So,
Okay,
I'm
thank you,
gonna stay in
Nate.
the chat, but I'm gonna hop out. I appreciate you letting me come
Okay.
on. Like I said, guys, I love the Spider Morph. I have nothing against it. I've owned plenty of them, and I will own plenty more of them. So that's just my thoughts there. But everyone have a great night. Thank you for having me on tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for yes.
what do you got there,
You
JS?
So this is actually a little lady that I'm keeping out of my clutch. She is Black Widow.
Nice.
Okay.
The pairing was a pastel het pied to a bumblebee. And if I get a good look at the tail, got some nice pied ringer marks on her too.
He's very pretty.
Absolutely,
Yeah, she's very pretty.
that head is absolutely dead stable.
Mm-hmm.
Question is, where are you going to take the project?
That
No, don't say it, but
question.
I got a few ideas for it.
I'm not sure. I'm kind of limited on options at the moment. I've only got one or two males that are really breeding size at the moment, or that will. I think my pastel Enchi males shooting duds. So, not really sure at the moment where I'm going to go with it.
Or he might just not be ready
And
yet.
that was one of the
He's 3 years old.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah, he's one of the
and that was
first.
one of the things that I want. I apologize. I'm frozen.
It's
Am
a
I
nice
still
statue.
frozen? Can anyone? I'm a nice statue. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
I'm
hear you.
moving?
You're good now.
I'm back.
I'm waiting for her to break out in the song. Let it go, let it go.
Let it go. So
The other end of the spectrum.
now,
Chat, let me say one other thing. Nobody in the boxes up here is advocating one way or the other, for or against. There are pros, there are cons to every morph, the spider morph especially. So all we're trying to do is talk out what our experiences with that morph is. We're not telling you to go out and buy one. We're not telling you not to go out and buy one. Our opinion
mhm.
is our own personal experience, and we're not telling anybody yay or nay, it's good or bad. So I just wanted to clarify that. Seen some comments in there how we're condoning all this bad stuff, and we don't condone anything. We just have experiences with it, and we're trying to share that.
I think
In
one of
all
the
reality,
reasons
there's
that
really nothing
it's
wrong with Spider.
I think one
Go
of the
ahead.
reasons it's important to have these conversations is because we do have a lot of people who come in. I think all of us have been live. Thank you, Mo.
Oh, pretty.
They're so shiny.
And frozen.
So all of us,
Oh, I gotta get a screenshot of that.
Frame.
Get it.
That's amazing.
why am I frozen?
I love that.
I got that screenshot. Yes.
I
I'll
just
send
want to
that to
not
you.
be frozen. Okay, am I not frozen now? Oh my gosh, this
You're
is so
good.
annoying. Okay, so I'm going to talk quick in case I freeze again. So I think one of the reasons this conversation is important to have is because a lot of us have had moments in our lives where new people are coming in, they're brand new breeders, they're like, hey, I have these 2 snakes, can I breed them together? And there's just not a whole lot of knowledge and a lot of discussion happening out there about the spider. People shut down the conversation right away. They say, don't do spiders. But they never really explain why. Or they say, absolutely do spiders, and never explain why. I think that it's important to keep having these conversations. So there's a couple of reasons for me that I choose not to work spiders. One, like, yeah, I don't want to deal with the wobble. That being said, I do work spot nose, I do work chocolate, I do work black pastel. I don't breed those two together, and it does create complications having them on both sides of your pairings, right? But one of the things that does hold me back on working with the spider is you could never have, if you end up with too much spider in your collection, it really limits what your pairing is too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff out there, there also is a lot of perception of the spider from as well as traders that we have the conversation. When the spider goes into the market, is there any denying that it lowers the price? People could argue with me on it, but
Okay,
based on
you broke up on that. We
Damn it.
only caught just a little bit of that. Sorry.
So I think from what she was saying was, have you seen that spider in a combination lowers the value of the animal?
No, I haven't.
I think that would come down to if it's just pet only, or if you can use it for breeding.
I would agree with
Hey,
that.
I'm going to pause here for a second. Pure Country, I don't know what's happening down there in the chat, but my mods have muted you and unmuted you, and my mods very, very rarely mute people or block people. So, whatever's happening down there, chill. I don't know what's happening down there, but if I'm seeing the mods that are muting right now, I don't think I've ever seen them mute anyone. So, so I don't know what's happening down there. Yeah.
We
Yeah,
did.
no, one of the genes we
Oh.
work a lot of is hidden gene woma, and that's part of the same complex.
Uh-huh.
And it kind of does a lot like the spider. Depending on the gene combo, you can get really crazy, bright, flashy pattern, or it can be on the darker, duller side. But we don't see that many issues. Occasionally, we might get a hatchling that's got an issue, but they're always just gorgeous looking snakes. That's personally why we like in snakes. That's personally why we like.
And that is a very real thing. Like spiders are gorgeous, right? Like even if you hate the spider morph, I think you would struggle to say that that's not a pretty snake. All day
Well,
long, gorgeous snake.
Look at how they throw the calico pattern. How it gives it that
Yeah.
high white side. They
Yeah.
just look gorgeous.
I had a gorgeous orange ring spider at one point, and it was the brightest, most beautiful snake I've ever had.
Yeah,
They're
a lot of people think they're calicos, and they're not.
Well, like these little ones here, when they were first hatched, you'd swear they were axanthic because it was just straight white and black.
Oh, before the
Before
baby
the
skin
colors
came
started
off?
coming in, and yeah.
Yeah.
Now, like this one is kind of brown, tanning out a little bit, getting some other colors in there.
The contrast.
The female I'm keeping is developing some oranges that I don't know where that's coming from. But it's absolutely stunning. And
Am I still pressing?
The contrast in the allelics is amazing because you've got like the spider morph with lots and lots of pattern, but then you have the champagne that has very little.
Right, like our champagne and clown that we have here. It's visual clown, but the champagne just distorts it so much that
Mhm.
it's almost gone. You can't see it, but it's there.
And then for everyone, this can be for the comments for everyone on the panel. Why does the spider have a wobble? And ask that. I'm going to let the comments answer first before anyone up here does, because what causes the wobble? Just so you know. I'm frozen again. Am I frozen again?
No. Oh, wait, yep.
It says no, immediately freezes just to prove you wrong.
I didn't do it.
freezing is comical.
I'm going to see if this fixes
It's
it. Give me
great.
a second.
No, the butterfly wings, that was great.
Okay.
Ozark got the screenshot.
Oh, of course he did.
Listen, Stacy just wants to build a snowman, okay?
Should we all make
Right?
that our profile photo for the next week?
I'd be down.
Yes, please
kidding.
make that your profile photo, and then I'm just going to avoid TikTok for the next week. So, I see some people saying,
Oh, like
no
that's
idea. R&R reptiles, it's an inner ear defect. So, absolutely accurate on that. So, there was a research study done. It came out officially published in August of 2022. They initially started research December 30th, 2021, or introduced the paper then, in which they did actually look into the spider ball python versus wild type, so versus normal, and explored trying to figure out where this wobble was coming from. And I'm going to try to show these pictures on here, and they may not mean anything to anyone, but I'm going to show them anyways. So this is the inner ear canal of a normal ball python, wild type. And I'm not going to pretend that I understand every bit of this. I am not a scientist, right? But we know that your inner ear affects your balance, right? It sends messages to the brain about the environment around you to affect your balance. Yep, vertigo. So this is what a spider's looks like. And if you want to look that up and read the paper to like have deeper information, it's the research article is malformations of the sacculus and semicircular canals in spider morph ball pythons. So we spent a lot of time saying it's a neurological condition, and while that's similar, it's not quite accurate because the inner ear is sending messages to the brain, essentially saying you're off balance, but it's not exactly a neurological issue in the way a lot of us consider it to be. But there is a connection there, right? And that is, I mean, up until 2021. I have heard some people saying, now this is just rumor mill, I can't say for sure, that they've been having better luck with breeding blackhead into the spiders and seeing no wobble come. Is that accurate? And they're saying it's passing on through the generations with having blackhead in there. Has anyone seen that themselves?
I've seen people talk about that blackhead supposedly kind of neutralizes some of that wobble, but I've not had one.
It's too early to really say it's a for sure thing.
Yeah.
They could just get lucky and they pop out just fine.
Because it, like I said, it's a beautiful morph. It's also a very strong morph. So when spider does show up, like, it's one of those.
It's either there or it's not.
Yeah, it's either there or it's not. And, you know, for me, sometimes it overwhelms the snake, as beautiful as it is. But it is a very strong morph in that way. So I'm wondering, like, long term, if we see any changes with blackhead being introduced, and maybe if they redo the study and see what happens. Now, that being said, in order to do this study, like much scientific research, the animals were put down to look at them. So in order to have this information, animals had to be unalived, healthy animals, right?
It's a sad truth.
Mm-hmm. And so, kind of at this point, I'm seeing a lot of questions, but also for those that are working it, love it, have positive experiences, why for you do you continue to work it? Like, if it does get all this hate out there, I see a lot of positive in the spider, but I'm wondering, like, for you personally. And I think it's an important thing for other people to understand. Could surgery fix the wobble? I don't know.
No.
I feel like that would cause more harm than good. Floor is open.
I breed spiders because I believe they're beautiful, and the bumblebee, particularly the pastel spider, I believe is a beautiful combination. Um, I don't believe that the problem that they have hinders them in any way, especially with the genes that I have. I've bred my bumblebee male 3 different times, and not one of the babies have started out with a wobble. I keep in contact with the people who have his babies, and not many of them report that they have a bad wobble. The only time I see a wobble with my guy is right before he's striking. He'll be right there and he'll start to do this, and then bam. He's the best eater I've got. He eats better than I mean he eats every time. Not a problem. Every time. Um, I've seen them bad, and to touch base on something that's been said earlier about the people who have pets that are spiders, and they see, and their wobble is so bad, it's so horrible. It's probably the only one they've seen, so they have nothing to reference it against.
Yeah.
I've seen some that were so bad that you couldn't hardly hold them because they would just flop and flop and flop. I've also seen some that exhibit zero neurological problem, none whatsoever. So that's just my take on it.
And, I've seen other morphs with very similar things, right? Like, I went to pick up a spot nose once, and it ended up being a super spot nose. We held it for a few minutes, and it was spiraling, and it was pretty bad. Now, it's hard to tell at a show if that was extra because it was stress-induced, but it
Right.
definitely, so that's right in that spider complex, but doesn't quite get the same amount of um, about amount of hate as the spider does. And so that snake,
Mhm.
we ended up saying, no, we don't want that one. We're going to take just the single gene spot nose. Because just as breeders, would it help us move ahead to have a super spot nose in working any projects with spot nose? Sure. But it's just not something I want to deal with in my collection. It's not something I want to deal with my animals personally, right? Josh.
Yeah.
So for you, like, what are
For
your pros with Spider?
With Spider, I love the color combinations, like Ozark said, in the Bumblebee. You get the high whites, the yellows, the blacks. Very good high color combinations and color contrast. Plus, my goal is to try and, spread the education on it. Not just, let the entrenched dogma be the rule of the land. Because I think if people see, that this gene can be exhibited without any wobble, without any issue, well, why not? Why not add that beauty to your collection?
Sorry, I just got a message. I just saw that, Cheever. And so, is it just an inner ear condition, or does it affect muscle or anything? The knowledge that we have, the scientific information we have at this time, is just an inner ear condition. Does that mean that it couldn't evolve into something else as we learn more information? I think science is always learning more. I mean, how long has it been since we finally got shed tests for snakes? Like, science is evolving all the time in this field. And some of us really like to nerd out on the science of it, which I think really benefits you as a breeder. So what are some things that you think, okay, so a lot of people want to have strong opinions on Spider, and definitely not here to argue their opinions, right? Here to say, these are my reasons, but they don't have to be yours, right? Like, I've seen comments down here, and you notice I'm not arguing with anyone, because at the end of the day, fully respect having opinions on things and fully respect having conversations.
I can understand R&R's point of view, having vertigo, not wanting to work with the gene. Makes sense.
That's fair. Yeah, that's
Yep.
really fair. Like,
I see a lot of moral questions down in the comments, and breeding the gene itself, I don't find morally wrong. I do find it morally wrong to purposely combine allelics just to see what comes out. Oh, I want to, nobody does this. I want to do this. I do see a problem with that. Um, but as far as, putting a pastel to a spider, they're not allelic. There's no danger involved as far as those two genes together.
yeah,
But when you purposely put, now I've admitted earlier, I put a spot nose with a spider. It was an accident. It wasn't done on purpose. I feel bad about it. I didn't lose any babies. All the babies are fine and healthy. I got lucky. Nate didn't with his combination. That's something that morally I would not purposefully do.
yeah,
So just to make it clear, I don't agree with combining allelics in any form if there's a danger to the snake or to the babies during development.
That's
So
unethical as a breeder. As a breeder, that's
yes,
where you're supposed to do your research. And in your case, that snake that you had, it was mislabeled and wasn't very easy to see the spot nose in
yes,
it.
yes,
But that is where the breeder has to do research religiously to be able to ID and do research on a pairing. If you're going to do a pairing, you need to make sure nothing can go wrong.
and one of the great things we have now to manage that is we do have shed testing now. So if there's a question in it and you're going to do those kind of pairings, and I think this is one of the reasons to have these conversations, especially with people in the comments who are brand new breeders. If you don't know how to identify well, and you're going to be breeding a spider, and maybe there's spot nose on the other side or something like that, shed test. Spend the $40 or spend the $135 for a panel, And
But then you'll know everything in it.
yeah, and that's the really thing. You don't
Then
know
you
what's
go
covered by a shed test. So shed tests can tell you the morphs. They don't know every single morph. I did see that Charlie just added lace this last week. So
They added a few
yeah,
recently.
yeah. Lace was just the one I was happening to look for. So like he probably added a lot more. It was just lace that I looked at. Um,
Another great tool is the morph calculators too.
mm-hmm.
So then they give you that. Not only do they tell you what the possible outcomes are of whatever combination you input, but then it also gives you the breakdown of each genetic and the ability to click on it and be like, oh, okay, this is recessive, this is that.
Right.
It has
Yep.
all that information right there at a touch of a phone.
Yep. Now don't go off of the calculator just off of like, yes, this is what you're going to hit, because that's not true. It's just
Well,
a
yeah.
good base tool to have to know where you could end up.
I've
Yes.
got
It gives you
two
a
snakes that
percentage.
put together would be 128 different possibilities.
Right.
I
My
have one
point.
carrying
And
that
it's only
was
like six different
in
genetics.
1296 on the calculator, and I was like, I'm just not even going to look through all of those. I know all the possibilities, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
I've tried for
Two
Pompeii
non-spiders
three different
create a
times,
spider.
and
So this is actually interesting from carrying. Can two non-spiders create a spider? Because let's go back to baseline morphs. They came out of the wild, right?
Yeah, if you had two normals and it happened to be lurking in there.
Yep, you had two normals and it happened to be lurking. If they're het for spider, so spider is
Well-
a dominant gene. It's non-recessive that we know, and it's not polygenic that we know. Now, like I said, we just learned stuff about the desert ghost last year, so I'm gonna continue to say that we know. So it's a dominant gene. So generally, if it's in the snake, you're going to see it.
Yeah.
However, all of our morphs at some point were kind of lurking.
Single gene.
Yeah, they were single gene. Most of them came from snakes in the wild that showed something a little bit weird, right? People were shipping snakes over from Africa all day long, going, something's a little bit different with this one, and they bred them and bred them and bred them. Hey, nothing to be sorry about, R&R. Like
the thing that I would
know
be
your opinions, and I know where you stand. Like, you've been in here a few times. I respect you. Like I've said, like, I know, like, you're not a rack fan. I know you're not a spider fan, and I 100% respect that.
I respect that too. I respect it.
Yeah.
The one thing that scares me with buying or getting white snakes,
Yeah.
the bells and stuff like that. Bells hide everything. You can't see what's in them. So if you go to a show and you buy a bell at this show, female bell at this show, and you go to that show and you buy a female bell, and they both happen to have spider in them, that's a bad deal. Um, people don't. Not everybody has the money to say, okay, I bought these two. Before I breed them, I'm gonna send both of them off and have them shed tested and see what's in them, just to make sure. So there's a lot of breeders that breed that and then come out, and then when the eggs hatch, they're kinked up or they're really bad, and they didn't know that there was spider in that, and it messed everything up.
Yeah.
That's that's understandable. You didn't know, but to put them back together again and do it again, no, no, no. I would never breed those two snakes. I would never breed those two snakes. Period. Again.
Well, that's the whole bell snake deal. You can't take a bell and turn around and say, "Oh, it's a monsoon pied clown that's desert ghost." That don't matter. It's all white.
It's all
Yeah.
white.
There's a reason that breeders tend to not like bells and pet owners love bells. Because bells hide everything from you. They're beautiful all day long. Bells are beautiful.
Well, I completely agree.
But
Bells are absolutely
But when one
stunning.
shows up when I'm carrying ultramel clowns, it's not my favorite thing to see.
The best way to breed bells is to do it yourself. Look at this fat girl. She's just about ready. She's started her prelay shed. I'm not going to keep her out very long, but she started her prelay. But that's the best way to know what you've got in white snakes, is to breed them yourself, and then you know what you have. 100%.
completely
So-
agree with it.
So I'm seeing the question. So is it worse with multiple genes plus the spider? So I'm assuming you're asking if the wobble is worse with multiple genes.
No.
It seems like it almost appears randomly from what I've seen. Like, while we don't keep spiders, I've seen a lot of spiders. A lot of people I know have spiders, and I've seen really, really horrible wobbles, and I've seen almost non-existent wobbles, if I could even detect it. You know, kind of like me staring at going like, is it wobbling? I can't tell. Maybe, but maybe my eye twitched.
It's either there or it's not.
Yeah,
There's
so
no in
it's not
between.
random. It's the crystals in the inner ear. So it's actually, it's less crystals. It's a malformation. So once again, I'm just going to hold these up. So
That's where the whole
yeah.
neurological background comes from, because it causes it to look like it's neurological when it's in reality from the ear.
Yeah. And so
And
with those,
my opinion on the more genes, worse wobble. No, I feel like more genes water that wobble down quite a bit.
I would tend to
So
agree with
almost non-existent with, you know, with enough genes in it, almost non-existent.
one thing to note is there a way to line braid to the gene away from the deformity? Yeah, and that's kind of what we've been talking about, right? Like, spiders have been line bred more than any other dominant morph out there. It'll be interesting to see long term what people are saying with the blackhead, because you're hearing it. But once again, that really does come back to people are seeing it right now. It doesn't mean that it's changed it, you know?
You gonna come up?
So we're in those last couple minutes, and I know that this kind of got a little bit hectic here tonight. One, with me freezing. Two, with initially we were going to have people come up, but we had a lot of blow-ups in the comments about coming up here. And so at that point, I was just like, no, I'm not going to go with that. So with that being said, what kind of questions do you have in the comments? And we're going to people had to be muted tonight, and we had multiple people complain. So there was some chaos in the comments. We kind of expected that tonight, right?
It was a little bit anticipated.
Huh?
I mean, the
It
way
was
I
a
look
little
at it,
anticipated.
if you don't like the genetic, don't breed it. You don't have to. Breed what you like.
So
Venture into it down the road, that's on you.
most of the questions you saw in the chat were answered over time. Okay, perfect. So now go ahead and ask a question. We'll answer those quick. We'll start wrapping up here. While people are typing up their questions, I'll talk about next week. Next week, we are going to be covering husbandry. We're going to be talking about it from breeder perspectives. The reason for this is because this is a very breeder-focused topic. At least in this particular panel, this is very breeder-focused. So we want to talk about how we're setting up our racks. We want to talk about what substrates we're using, how we're balancing heat and humidity, stuff that is going to really affect new breeders specifically. This information can be applied for pet owners and for keeping your animals in tanks, but I do want to be very clear that next week we'll be very focused on breeder setups and different ways that people have setups going. It's okay if you don't agree with racks here, like that's totally fine. But that is what the topic is going to be. If you are someone in the comments who wants to participate on next week's panel, message me tonight or tomorrow, please, because I set these up about a week in advance. One of the reasons we ran into issues in the comments is because people messaged me as it was starting, and that's just too much chaos for my little ADHD brain. So, question.
Harry has a question about shed tests and where to get them. I've never done one, so I'll let somebody else cover that.
I can take shed tests. So shed tests are available through two sources that I know of. There might be other people doing them, but as far as I know, it's RGI and then Charlie with shed testing. And you basically take the shed from your snake, you purchase a shed test, you seal them up, you send them in with the information. You can buy thousands of shed tests at a time and test them in the future, or you can buy them as needed, a little pricier to buy as needed. I think a full panel through RGI is $145 for a full panel through RGI, and their single gene test is $40. Charlie is $40. Okay, so it's 40 for either RGI or shed testing. RGI you can access through Morph Market, through Husbandry. You can search up RGI testing. And then shed testing, you can go, I think it's shedtesting.com, or go on Instagram and search shed testing, and you'll find Charlie's Insta profile and shoot him a message. And he's usually pretty responsive. So. Okay, I see the first.
Think about breeding spider with a bunch of other morphs. Will the wobble be worse?
Well, it'll either be there or it will not.
Right.
I mean, can it kind of dull down the effect of it showing up? Possibly, but it's still a roll of the dice. It's still going to show up or it will never show up. But you can make some really beautiful snakes with it.
I'm scrolling to see other questions. And okay, that's awesome, Arnar. I might jump in and watch that one if it's okay. Arnar says they might go live after this to explain some things from their perspective, and I love that. I hope this inspires conversation between people.
Oh, I've seen somebody say, if you see a spider, or if you've seen a spider with wobble, would you sell it or no? Well, if you're a breeder, you're supposed to put that information out there for that animal. You're responsible for it. If you don't, that is extremely shady, and you will never be getting my business. Ever. That is irresponsible as a breeder, and you shouldn't be breeding at that point. If you do not disclose any information about an animal that's yours, you shouldn't be doing it.
Like I've personally got somebody already interested in my other black widow. So the opposite one of the one I'm keeping, and I've told them, if you ever have any questions on it, concerns, this is its temperament, this is how it's doing, how many feeds it's had. Like I've gone over everything I can with them, so that way when they do eventually get this, little bundle of joy, they have all the knowledge and everything to at least get a start on it. And then, they have a question or anything like that, 24 hours a day I'm here. Like, I'm not gonna just be like, here you go, don't bother me.
So Micah asked, what are y'all's opinions on Spider Morph in general? Sorry if this has been answered. And I feel like this is a answer at will if you want to. My personal thing is I choose not to work it. I actively try not to have wobble in my collection, but I also avoid champagne. I also avoid super black pastel and super cinnamon, super spot nose. But I do work, like I said, I do work some animals in the spider complex. So that's the spot nose, that's the black pastel, that's the chocolate, right? So I do work some of those, but don't breed them to, I won't breed a spot nose to a spot nose or anything like that. For me, yes, the wobble is a little bit, it is a concern for me for what I want in my own animals. I think it's overly dominant for me in that it can overwhelm a lot of the morphs that I'm working with. With some of the morphs that I am working with, I've noticed that when people add spider in them, their price drops by like $500, so it lowers their value. And I also look at what the general public is also looking for at a time on producing animals. So those are my reasons for not working with it. But it also means the same thing, that I don't have any feelings towards someone else choosing to work with them, because that's their collections, their choices, their animals. So I'll answer that for myself, and y'all can answer if You choose?
Well, so from my perspective, my opinion on it is very simple. I will never breed it. I try to avoid basically the entire complex. But I've had them as pets. I love them as pets, and I think they all deserve homes no matter what. And if you want to breed them, it's their right. You do you. I have no right to say what you do with your business.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all.
I have bred this guy 3 separate times, and I'm not going to breed him anymore. Not because of the spider. His babies have a really hard time eating on their own. All 3 clutches I've had to fight with, and so therefore this guy, and there's 3 different females too, so not just the same females. But this guy, I don't know if it's the spider that passes that off or what it is. Me and Cheevers talked at length about it, and so I've just decided that this guy's going upstairs in an enclosure upstairs, and he's gonna live out the rest of his life just eating and being free. And I I work with spider. I love the spider. I think the spider makes some absolutely beautiful animals, but you have to be careful with what you put it with. And mistakes have been made on my part, and it's a lesson that you learn. So that's
I
my
think
answer.
I think the main two out of the whole complex would just be Spider and Champagne that you'd see
Mhm.
more issues out of all of them. But Champagne still isn't that common to run into issues.
Yeah.
I have a guy that 5 minutes from me that we get our rats from. He's been breeding spiders for 16 years, and he almost never has a problem. Same normal incubation temp, nothing changes, and he very rarely ever has a problem with them. And most of the time you see the issue is right out of the egg.
And Josh, I know we've talked with you a lot about, like, I know you like spiders, so I feel like it's going to be a moot point to make you repeat yourself on your opinions on the spider morph, but
I don't mind. I don't mind at all. I love, like, I've got, I haven't even counted all the genetics I've got. I've got spider, cinnamon, spot nose, mystic, pied. Like, I've got the gamut. So it's a matter of trying to figure out, what I want to put together with what ultimately,
Fair.
and, trying to do things the right way without inadvertently creating, a big problem.
That's where the research comes in.
Exactly. And I'm doing mine every day, like, little bit here, little bit there. Like, I'm not in a rush to do anything crazy. This is my first clutch.
yeah.
I was just ecstatic that all 5 eggs came out healthy, let alone the fact that 4 out of 5 eggs were spider and black pastel combos.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. And then the 5th one was just a single gene pastel het pie.
Nice.
But they're all eating fantastically now. They're 3-4 meals in. They're still on live at the moment, but hoping to get at least 1 or 2 of them transferred over.
It's not always easy to do.
Yep, no.
If you have any issues with it, feel free to message me. I have some tricks. Thus far have worked 100% of the time for me. But I have strange luck with getting them to switch. So I've heard. So, kind of in wrapping this up, I do think that, this was a difficult conversation, and I know a lot of people have really strong opinions, and I appreciate everyone coming in and watching. Hey, R&R, if you go live, I'll come over and watch. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts for sure. Now, like I said at the beginning, the spider is a morph that I think we all have to show respect to as breeders. If we can't appreciate the history of the spider, then we're kind of ignoring the history of breeding ball pythons in general, right? Because it's really what led to this becoming so popular. So spider is definitely out there. It's definitely has a strong history. People do have strong opinions, and if you choose to breed them, like, understand people are going to have those strong opinions, and also understand what works with them and what doesn't as far as pairing goes.
Sure.
Right? Do your research. Now, for next week's Breeder Talk, I already told you guys what it's going to be. It's going to be about husbandry, breeder perspective. Please message me today or tomorrow to get on the list for next week. If you want to be in here, just shoot me a message. But I need to know today or tomorrow so that I can start making up the list and not have ADHD overwhelm my brain at the last minute. Do I think all snakes need to breed? No. I think that was a good question, Galen, and no, I don't.
No.
No, we have a lot that are just pet only.
Yep.
Uh-huh. I have snakes that have been breeders that I will only sell as pets. Right?
Like actual spiders. We only have 2 actual spider gene snakes, and they're pet only.
Mm-hmm.
But we work spider complex, just not spider gene itself.
Yeah.
I bought this champagne girl because I thought she's pretty. I have no intentions of ever breeding her.
Yeah.
I just think she's pretty.
You have a husband that's pet only.
Huh?
Green
Oh,
Eye
boy.
said, I have
I
a
feel
husband
bad for her
that's pet
husband.
only.
Sorry, man. Go have a beer.
Oh, that's a great one, Green Eyed.
I love that.
That was a good chuckle.
But anyways, I appreciate y'all. Feel free to message me if you have a lot of questions about spiders too. There's some really wonderful people in here to reach out to, talk to them, find out information that they know. Like, I'm sure everyone in here would be happy to answer questions and explain stuff more in depth as desired. If you're not already following everyone in here, give them all a follow. Everyone is working in different levels of their own breeding projects, of their own breeding journey, and working different things. Right? Some people in here have produced their first clutch, their 5 millionth clutch. They haven't produced a clutch yet. And so
I don't want to talk about it.
I'm going to need a complete count of how many clutches you've produced. Like, just.
I think he's close to like 30 this month.
Right. So, and show us love, and I will see you all next week, same time, same place. Maybe some of the same people, maybe some different people.
Same great channel.
Same
Perfect.
Same bat channel.
This is the Breeders Roundtable
At Midgard Castle.
at Midgard Castle.
Dun, dun,
Dun. Okay. Love y'all.
Stacey, thanks for having me. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
That's a wrap.